don't hear anything.
Good to go.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of Tourism and Occupancy Tax Committee together. First item of business, I'd like to thank the former members of either committee for serving. And we only have one item on the agenda. So the first will be a motion to approve the October 26th Tourism Committee meeting minutes. And the second will be also to approve the December 14th Oxy Tax Coordination Committee minutes. So somebody want to make a motion to approve those? Motion by Supervisor Bramer. Do we have a second? You got to raise your hand to do something. Supervisor Hogan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Treasurer Swan came. He'd like to give a quick Oxy tax report. So Mike, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I didn't realize I wasn't on the agenda, but I figured I'd better show up anyway. You'd wonder where I was. We're down about $612,000 in collections through the end of 2020 compared to 2019. Down about almost 15%, which is actually better because the last time I talked to you, it was down about 17%. And the only thing I can say is that we will still be collecting through the end of March because that's basically how the bigger properties especially don't get us stuff until February or March. So this figure will improve. How much, I don't know, but it will improve, which is good. And the other thing I'd like to say is that as a result of all of our efforts to get all of the short-term rental properties registered within the county, my staff is getting overrun. And I may be coming back here at some point in time asking for a little bit more help with that. Because and not that I mind, but when I'm doing the input for this, it tells me that my people are a little bit overworked. Any questions?
No, we appreciate the good numbers, Mike. Thank you. We have one discussion item. It's to talk about the Lake George Winterfest. And I know there's been concern for some of my colleagues on the board that a lot of us are closing our town halls in this past month because of the uptick in coronavirus cases in the area. And I know it's caused concern for some of my colleagues that we are advocating for people to come into our community in the month of February. So that being said, I know, Christian, sorry we kept you waiting for 30 minutes, but I'll ask you to explain where you are with the Winterfest. I know everybody in the room has the agenda and what events are going to go on. And then we'll go over the safety plan that is been completed so far. So Kristen, the floor is yours, and thank you for waiting.
Oh, no problem at all. So where we stand with the program is, some of this will be a recap, some of it may be new, is we've pulled together existing business partners. So hotels, restaurants, existing activity providers like cross-country ski areas, snowmobile tour operators, and we've packaged them all together in what is an appealing package that gets pushed out to tourists through various promotional activities, various marketing activities. And the concept behind the package was, we understand that the circumstances on the ground can change substantially due to COVID. We just don't know what next week brings. And so there was a focus on socially distanced and outside activities. Not all are outside. There's one exception to the activities, and I can go into that in just a second. But almost all of them are outside, socially distanced activities. All of them have been asked to provide their COVID safety plan. And we recognize that either now or tomorrow or next week, the permissibility of any of those activities could change. And we're fully prepared to remove any of those activities as needed out of the program and reach out to the customers and redirect them into something that is still permissible, or if need be, we can refund their money entirely. So the program was built with the intention of being totally flexible. And we recognize that the whole program could be halted. There are no guarantees. That's the world we live in these days. We are, by the end of this week, we'll have all of the businesses' attestations in hand. Those are the items that they've committed to from the state to be compliant based upon their business category. We'll have all of their certificates of insurance in hand. And I'm regularly speaking with Ryan to make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. So that's where it stands, and it's open. The Lake George Winterfest site has been launched, and we are receiving lots of inquiries, and people are signing up for the packages.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, on the safety plans you've read so far, what do you feel?
I looked at the update that I sent to the board over the weekend. I think I sent it on Saturday. You all have it in front of you, and the actual safety plans, Christian will get them along with certificates of insurance. He'll take a look, make sure to his eyes it looks in order, and then he'll send those our way. And we expect to have those. I think the timetable we talked about, Christian, was end of the week. Is that right?
22nd.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, I know there's concerns, and now is the time for our committee or anybody in the boardroom to express them. So anybody who would like to address Kristen about the event, please do so now.
I'm sorry, may I just add one additional thing?
Sure.
I just want to note that the position that I'm in is I'm pulling together at the request of others to pull this package together and help launch it. And it's a different position than it is for example, with my other events where we run the events and we are, it's a self-created entity where, for example, with Americade, obviously I'm Americade's chief advocate. And well, Lake George Winterfest, I am its advocate. I'm not its chief advocate. This is a partnership with lots of businesses who are trying to help make this thing happen. And I only mention that because it puts me in a slightly different position. I'm not here to drive this process forward if all parties involved felt that it was a bad idea. It's a little bit of a different position than I might find myself with some of the other events. So with that, I will now be quiet.
Right, and we understand that too, because you did get support from the committees in the past to do this. So, but the questions arise, so I'm going to turn it over to Supervisor Bramer. She had some questions.
Thanks, Christian. I'm seeing in the events schedule that there's cross-country skiing activities in Coles Woods. I'm wondering, what are the safety protocols? What are you telling people with respect to using that, which is a city facility open to the public?
So as it stands right now, the safety plan, the safety outline for the Inside Edge / Coles Woods partnership is via the Inside Edge. We haven't outlined, but perhaps we should, the safety procedures for those who are skiing on the trails. It's something actually we don't have on the site, but I could certainly add, namely, I'd see county guidance, but presumably it's masked, 6 foot distance, all that sort of thing. So the procedures that we have right now as it applies to that are from the providers of the equipment. So in the case of Coles Woods, it's from Inside Edge, and from Garnet Hill Trail area, it's obviously from Garnet Hill Lodge.
Are you, well, I saw that there are some guidelines related to Garnet Hill, making sure that people wear their masks when they can't maintain that distance on the trail. Are you also putting together any kind of, I see it talks about a reservation. Are you putting together any type of limit on the number of people that are going to be able to go there through Inside Edge?
Well, we could put a limit, but to be perfectly candid, the inventory that's available from Inside Edge is its own limiting factor. They have, I think, I don't know, it's approximately 10 sets per day, which is,
Okay, so in a sense, there is a limiting factor there. And are you working with anybody at the city?
No. Can you flesh that out a bit? I mean, who would I be working with?
Well, there's Friends of Coles Woods that maintains those trails. They put a lot of effort into maintaining the groomed trails. And I would suggest that you talk to Amy.
And so I would reach out to them just to make sure that they are aware of what we're doing. I mean, just to emphasize, right now we are simply pushing customers through the program that the Inside Edge
I
has.
understand, but it's a little bit different because it's not like Garnet Hill. Garnet Hill has their own land, they maintain it, they control it. Whereas here, Inside Edge is using a public resource in order to, rent out their equipment. And for instance, if there's a day where it has rained or it gets warm, Friends of Coles Woods asks people not to ski. So we would want to make sure that Inside Edge isn't encouraging people to ski on the trails on days where it's not good conditions, that kind of thing. Let's just make sure we're in coordination with each other on the practical use of the trails and from a safety perspective.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. I will do that.
Amy can definitely connect you with the people who are in charge of the trail maintenance.
Okay, great. I will do that. Thank you.
Anybody else with concerns? Supervisor McGowan?
Really not a concern, Mr. Chairman. What I do have is, how are you feeling on the sales? I mean, have we sold a lot of tickets? I'm trying to get in between the people looking in, possibly coming to projection, it might be helpful for some of the supervisors to understand if we're talking an influx of, 100,000 people or are we talking, a couple hundred?
Good question. Right now I think we are either just approaching or just passing the 100 wristband mark. Granted, we've just started the marketing efforts. My best guess, and it is a guess, it's, this is something new for us, new for what we're doing internally, and it's new for the region. And obviously the circumstances on the ground are quite a bit unusual these days. My guess is that we're going to be selling hundreds, not thousands. And I'd be surprised if we approached even 1,000, but it's hard to say. There's this, I spent the past year trying to predict the future, and I've gone gray doing it. It's just so hard to know how people respond. And I mean, even, I don't want to waste your time, but July and August in Lake George Village, I was surprised by how much business they did, which is both good and bad. It's good for business. It's a little risky with COVID.
I'm trying to hold you to a number. I just, pulling it all together, you see the numbers. I didn't really see anything on our information. So it kind of helps in the procedures that some of the concerns that the supervisors might have. Thank you.
Yeah. My guess is somewhere between 400 and 900, but that's truly, it's a bit of a semi-educated guess. And I'd be happy to regularly provide the sales data to the county or to Joanne or whoever's looking for that information.
That would be helpful. Supervisor Sheckler.
Thank you. The last meeting that you had in December, which I attended, I am not a member of the committee, but thank you for allowing me to sit in and to voice my opinion. I shared some concerns I had with the board and with you, Christian, in regards to bringing the folks in from out of town. So far, you've indicated you've got approximately 100 wristbands sold. What is the data supporting? Where are these folks coming from?
It's a mix. Most of them are from more than an hour's drive away. I can certainly get that breakdown, and I'd be happy to provide it to the county. In the marketing efforts, can and will be, and I believe are currently, I just have to double check that, being targeted to zip codes that are safer rather than others that are less safe. So the marketing push is through Mannix Marketing, most of it, not all of it. So the hotel partners are pushing it out to their own lists, but the paid for advertising that's going through Mannix Marketing takes into account the zip codes where risks are higher and markets accordingly.
Okay. So that's really not a clear answer from my perspective. Thank you.
Well, I can provide the zip code breakdown. I'd be happy to do that. I just don't have it in front of me right now, but I can run the report and then break it down by zip code and share it. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. I guess my overall concern is, as was in December and currently is today, that we're bringing folks in from out of town, from areas where COVID is running rampant, and also just everybody I'm sure is fully aware that they just had 5 cases of the UK COVID in Westchester County. My other concern also is that the restaurants in the area are starting to close down because of the COVID situation here in Warren County. And my concern is how are you going to be able to meet these families' needs when they come up to Warren County or come down to Warren County if you've got the area of restaurants that are starting to close down?
So it is, a little bit of this will be speculation. But what you're outlining is an important concern, meaning if the trajectory of all of this is such that the very attractions that are drawing the people here aren't going to exist when people arrive, and we will be right. I should point out that prior to a customer arriving, we're going to encourage them to check our website. So as restaurants close down, we will update that list. But if at some point that threshold, that the amount of attractions reduces by so much that it rises to become a concern that we're not going to be able to fulfill the customer's expectations, that's a whole new model that we have to operate within. And my inclination is to say, we're candid with the customer. We tell them the situation. Instead of 25 participating restaurants, we now have only 8, and that's due to the COVID concern in the area. My guess is that a lot of people would cancel, and we'll do a lot of refunding of money. We can handle it. I'm shaping the response to all of this based upon my own business instincts, trying to make sure that the customer is taken care of, as well as the concerns of the county and the business interests. So I'm in a funny position, but the way in which we respond to that is a reflection of, to some degree, the county's desires. So it's kind of a long-winded way of saying that if that situation presents itself, the only way to handle it, I see, is to be candid with the customer and then handle it however they want it to be handled. If they're still gung-ho to come up, unless I'm directed otherwise, I think I would have to say, come on up. If I'm directed to tell the people to not come, then we'll reach out to all the customers and tell them not to come and handle them accordingly.
Thank you. I appreciate the situation that you're in because even since we met in December, our numbers have increased significantly. And I think that is a concern for the people of Warren County, not only the supervisors, but the residents, the full-time people of Warren County. I think that this should be looked at and considered. And I appreciate your time and allowing me to speak. Thank you very much.
The only thing I'll say about that, Christian, if you have to go in and cancel, hopefully it doesn't leave a black eye on the region for the upcoming months or any events that it's going to happen in the future. That would be my only concern if we waited to the 11th hour and then all of a sudden had to refund money for people who are purchasing these wristbands. So I know it's a moving target. We're getting mixed messages from the governor's office about opening up, not opening up. And I ask that you work closely with Joanne and the administrator to keep us informed if there is an uptick and we have to come back and ask you to cancel. I think these are business people. They don't want to do anything that's going to impede them going forward. And we understand that. I understand you're just a spokesman. I get all that, but it is a concern. We're having a spike in cases, although it went down a little bit this weekend. So please keep that in mind, that we're looking at the best interests of Warren County going forward and what kind of light we put in February. And we, as I said before, we as town supervisors are closing down our town halls and limiting people. Yet part of our community is asking for people to come in. So please keep that. In fact, we're not against the events. I think it's very unique. I congratulate the people who you got together to put this event on. It's just the timing, I'm not sure is right now, but I'll open it up to anybody else on the committee who has a question. Yes, Andrea.
Thank you. Hi, Christian. Andrea Hogan, Town of Johnsburg. We've met before. I just have a quick question. Are you allowing the vendors, or are the vendors going to be allowing walk-up business? And if so, how are you going to track on that? So for instance, are they accepting people who did not buy the wristband ahead of time?
Question. So the short version is yes, they do allow for walk-up business. So for the Garnet Hill Lodge, they're open 6 days a week, I think. So they're already doing cross-country skiing and snowshoeing and all this sort of stuff. And I have several thoughts. One is when a customer makes the reservation, we're doing our best. We're not doing our best. We are sending them the information, the contact information for the activity provider, and telling them to confirm the reservation. Even though we actually booked the reservation, they're going to call the activity provider just to get them talking to each other, because information is shared that might not otherwise be captured through an internet sale. And the activity provider then has the opportunity to move that person based upon a number of needs, not the least of which is we already have a lot of people coming in at, let's say, 9 o'clock, and we need to move them to the 10 o'clock slot. And that the activity provider, let's say the Garnet Hill Lodge, is able to have that conversation with a customer. And I wanted to also, when I chose the partners, I wanted to make sure that I was choosing partners who were already doing business, that we weren't introducing something new to the equation. If they're already doing business, they've already had to comply with the regulations. Whereas if I created some new activity, cross-country skiing in Battlefield Park down in Lake George, then I'm introducing this whole new mixture of risk, frankly, and I didn't want to complicate it. I wanted this thing to be as simple as possible so that the people providing the activities are on top of the precautions and the mandates that they have to be part of, and we're just out there as a marketing channel for it. So I think I answered your question. I hope I did.
You did, thank you. And I think that one-on-one between the vendor and the customer is going to be really, really great, really important, because the vendors know what their risks are. They know, and they'll best be able to express that. And to something you said earlier, I was really, really psyched to hear that you are also asking for the affirmations, and maybe you'll help us ferret out some that haven't filed theirs yet.
Well,
So
yeah,
thank you.
well, I'd like to take credit for that, but Ryan gently reminded me to make sure I got those. So I am doing that.
Supervisor Stroud, did you have a question?
No.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, anybody else on Zoom? Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank Christian for your in-depth answers. I think it's helping a lot of us get a better handle on this. This is such a quandary, this event during this timing. The governor last week said, we got to open up businesses before there's no businesses to open up. Okay. But we have to do it safely. There's so many variables here and so many moving factors. I think you're doing as good a job as you humanly can, you and your partners, in being flexible enough to adapt if situations become worse, or and hopefully they become better. So I'm confident now that you're doing all you can to be flexible enough to say, hey, if we got to shut down this event, we will, for the safety of Warren County residents and for the safety of the people coming in. So thanks for your expertise on these guesses, which that's what they are, educated guesses, but giving me some confidence that you're covering all the bases on this to make this successful but safe. Thank you.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we, from the county and Kristen and this group, guarantee that that all of the vendors and destinations have signage so that can be posted throughout the many weekends? And if something gets tattered or falls down, that the masking and the social distancing
Joanne, do you want to respond?
We have the updated winter versions of the 3 safety signs that we started distributing last summer, so I'm glad to share the PDFs of those safety signs with Christian.
Okay.
We can share them with all the businesses.
Does anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Wild?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Just a couple of comments. And Christian hit on this, but there's a couple of goals for this. One is promoting safe activities. So we need to remember that these activities are all designed and selected to be safe. And that's what the public in general are looking for, is those types of safe activities, getting outside. There's also another opportunity and goal here where it really raises the awareness of the public, not local public, but outside, of our winter assets and why coming to Lake George in the wintertime is a good idea, not only in time of COVID when everybody's trying to protect themselves from this pandemic, but in the future. So there's some longer range things here. And as we think about making sure that everybody signs a safety pledge and has signed their whatever they need to satisfy the requirements that the Board of Supervisors is asking for, we need to remember that Warren County is still open for business. These businesses aren't opening just because of this event. They're already open. So all we're doing is taking advantage of existing businesses and doing a little promotion to try to help raise awareness of that. And Mr. Chairman, you mentioned something about a black eye. I'm not so concerned about that, primarily because the fact that our whole population has dealt with issues related to the pandemic. They've always had to change their plans. No one knows what's going to be open, what's not going to be open. So I think that's minimized here. If we have to shut down and we have to refund people, it's not such a black eye because people realize that COVID is still raging. And we need to make sure that we're safe and we go forward with that. And I think Christian and all the people that have joined in on this are doing the best they can to make that happen. And hopefully the Board of Supervisors will support this going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to comment? Not hearing any. Don, any comments on YouTube?
Good morning, Supervisor Garrity. There's nothing on YouTube at this point.
Any other concerns from committee members? I guess everybody knows their marching orders and good luck. Christian, with this event and stay safe. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Supervisor Kramer. Do we have a second? Second by Supervisor Beatty to adjourn. Thank you all.
Thank you.